Hi, this is Sam Lagana with the Los Angeles Rams. Whose house? You're listening to the Los Angeles Rams UK podcast. Undenied worldwide. The Los Angeles Rams. It doesn't get any better than this. Let's go Rams!
Good evening and welcome to another episode of the LA Rams UK podcast. I'm John and join me as always is Andy. Andy, how are you doing? Feeling positive this week?
I'm not too bad, mate. I just can't believe what we're going to have to talk about again. It's like deja vu again.
Yep, we're here to obviously talk about the Buccing unacceptable loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week, where we lost 16-13 after what was a grueling 60 minutes, wasn't it, Andy?
It certainly was. You know, the first quarter, you sort of had a little bit of positivity. That, you know, we went out of it. We came to the second quarter, we took the lead, and then you were sort of felt semi-positive. But then after that, you know, it even though, you know, they never scored any points in the third quarter, the Bucs, it just felt like we were just kept leaving them in the game over and over again. And at some point, we were going to be punished by Brady because we know what he can do. And that's exactly what happened.
Yep, it doesn't matter how old Tom Brady is. He's obviously sold his soul to the devil, so he's going to be able to pull game-winning drives like that out of the bag, no matter how old he is. But all round, another poor performance in the offense. And just before we talk further about the game, just before we came on, Andy and I both kind of came to agreement that we've been talking pretty much about the same things every single week. The issues with the offense are happening on a weekly basis. And it's a bit of a discredit to anyone who listens to the podcast to hear essentially what is the same moaning and groaning is probably a better way to say it from us about how poor our offense is. So it's one of those ones. We'll go over no high points. We'll go over the key points about the game, but don't expect us to go in depth because you've spent like 8 weeks listening to Andy and I and Chris as well when Chris has joined us talking about the same thing. So don't want to waste anyone's time that. But flipping away from the offense, defense again performs quite well and wrongly, in my opinion. You can tell me what you think in a second, Andy. The defense gets criticised for throwing the game away on that last drive when you're talking 58 minutes of the game up to when the defense has been on, the defense has held them to field goals. What say you, Andy? Is that unfair criticism to say the defense cost us the game?
Yeah, well and truly. You know, if you go up against somebody like the Bucs and you're only holding them to 16 points the whole game, you know, that's what you ask for your defense to do. You know, yeah, we'd maybe have liked to seen a few more sacks. You know, we only had one sack all game. You know, maybe we'd liked a couple more, you know, to sort of highlight the team and, you know, to maybe help. You know, it was only AD that got something all game. But, you know, like I said, 16 points. If you hold a team to 16 points, we should be winning these games and we're just not. And, you know, obviously we know where the problems clearly lie. You know, and it's worrying as well that even when the offense is out there, they come off. You know, they'll go out there and, you know, we heard the thing from Ramsey the other day of, you know, they're basically saying stay focused because you're going to have to go back out there again.
And it's a terrible position to put your defense in, isn't it? Where they know that we're not going to get a rest. There's no point in sitting down and there's no point in taking a drink. Keep your helmets on, like you said. Keep focused because you're back on in 5.
Yeah, you know, that your defense doesn't want to hear that. They've done their job. They got you that stop that we needed. We needed one first down, and that's it. The game is finished, and our offense can't even do that. You know, they cannot. It's, you know, they're just not doing what they're supposed to. That should have been game over, job done. And you know, as much as we all love Cooper Kupp, he does have to take, I think, a little bit of criticism this week. Is he should not have slid. He should have gone, and if he'd have got hit, he'd have got hit. Big deal. You know what? The game was on the line at that point. You know, you need to put your heart into it. You know, maybe that's because of his knee injury. He doesn't want to take any more knocks, but you know, that slide basically cost us the game. His mistake this week cost us the game, basically, I feel.
Pretty much, yeah. I just you're saying about like his knee injury and that. Like the other thing, he'll be thinking about that, but also thinking about like if I get hurt here and I'm injured, like we are well and truly, and I can't find a better way to describe it, but fucked. Really,
Yeah.
because out of the offense, Cooper Cup's the only one that seem to have been able to get open. You know, with two described as explosive plays, he also did 69-yard touchdown and a 34-yard pass, which set up a field goal. But other than that, our other receivers just did nothing. Pretty much,
No.
Tyler Higbee didn't make a single catch. The game, Robinson had 3 for 24, Brown had 1 for 10, I think Pill had 1 for 4. But apart from that, like, just it's one of those games where it's like you've got this Cup or nothing is all we've really got in our wide receiver core.
Yeah, again, I'd like to see him, but it seems again that Stafford has gone back to just focus on Cup and stuff everybody else again. I was watching the game this week and I was sort of really focusing. I've watched a little bit of the old 22, and I was looking, okay, are these receivers not getting open? And, there was times that Robinson was wide open. There was times that even, Van Jefferson was open a little bit. Obviously we had that potential, to Ben Skoranek, that very bad throw off Stafford that basically would have got us a touchdown. The guy was wide open. It should have been a bang on his numbers. Nice, easy touchdown. And he just completely, misfired the ball out. So there are opportunities there, but it just feels again like Stafford has gone back to his focus on Cup and Cup only mode.
And that's definitely it's not even hampering the offense. It's damaging the offense because for all of the other potential targets out there, they're when the snap hits, they probably know instantly. Well, it doesn't matter what I do here, the ball's not going to come at me.
Yeah, it probably does feel that way for a lot of these players now, because of that. And you do begin to wonder, is it causing a bit of unrest in the back, in the locker room? Because, I'm sure players like Robinson and that want to get their touches. They want to be productive, and you're starting to think, and then obviously with the comments from the defense about the offense and what they're saying, you're starting to think, is this causing a bit of locker room unrest? And is this what the issue is for the offense? Is it's just not stable at the moment? Obviously, we've had all the stuff with Akers as well, which may not have helped. But, you something I feel has definitely got to be going on behind the scenes that we're obviously not seeing. Because if you look at last season to this season, it's like it's a complete polar opposite. But it feels like even towards the back end, the playoffs last season, we were relying on the defense. It wasn't as if the offense was, apart from the Cardinals game, there were tough fought matches. That most of them, it was our defense that was winning us these games. So you're starting to think, is what is going on behind there, as I say.
Yeah, there is many questions obviously being asked of the offense, and it's quite rightly so. That I've seen, Bob Evans being described as a turnstile because that's always good for. He's good for just letting people pass them. One of the sacks on Stafford was pretty much like Evans totally lost his man. I don't even think he realised who he was supposed to block. And it's worrying when you're putting a guy out there who, to be honest, can't do his job. I try my best where possible when guys aren't playing well to try and find some positives and hope that they can turn it around. But it's more likely than unlikely that Bobby Evans is going to cause quarterback pressures, quarterback hits, and is going to cause potential turnovers as a result.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. That guy needs to be benched, and quickly. We need to find some other way of figuring this team out because he's not clicked. Whether or not, I think he came out of college, I think if I remember, as a tackle. Sometimes they just can't transition to that guard, and he's just been forced into that position. Maybe if we could stick him back out as a tackle, maybe he could do. But I agree. I just don't trust him anymore being out there. It just seems like he's a liability. Yeah, I know he was going up against Vita Vea constantly, and in fairness, he's probably after AD, he's probably the second best, I think, interior defensive lineman in the NFL. I really do, and he's probably going to take when AD retires, he's probably going to take up over his number one mantle. It is a difficult task, but you do expect that something out of them at least. Not to basically just, as you say, be a revolving door and basically just one step and you're around him and he's gone.
That's it, yeah. And just the other frustrating thing for me was the sheer number of free and outs that we had in offense. I think it was 12 drives, 11 or 12 drives we had across the game. Only 3 of them obviously scored, so with 2 field goals and a touchdown. And the other ones were all pretty much free and outs. Just unable to get anything going whatsoever. And that's like 6 quarters and we've only got 1 touchdown. Granted, Stafford's not thrown an interception, but I'd rather he took a risk and threw picks if it was going to get the offense going. That's kind of where I'm at now. But I mean, at least for the likes of Riley Dixon, he earned his keep this week. He had a 64-yard punt, and a lot of people spoke quite highly of the Bucs punter because they had a fair number of free and outs as well. So I think people are saying like the players of the week should be the punters because they did more for the game than even offense really did.
Yeah, that punt from their guy Kamada, that 74-yarder, that was quite something. And then, like you say, for Riley Dixon to come up and go, yeah, all right, I'll try it as well. Let's see what I can do. And he was only 10 yards short of him. It was a kicking game this week. It was quite literally a football game because most of the points were coming from the feet.
Yeah,
it was just ridiculous, the game this week. We just didn't seem to, as you say, it was the constant free and out. Your defense is getting knackered, and you can see that. It wouldn't surprise me by the end of it for that last drive of the Bucs. The defense is just blowing out of its backside because of how knackered it is, because it spent the majority of the game on the field.
Yep, and just on the topic of that last drive, and I seen this today, posted it in Discord, and as I said to you, I think I pissed a few guys off. And I'm surprised this never actually got put on, at the end of the game. Always going about the next gen stats. One of the takes that they put on NFL.com from the game was the next gen stat of the win probability with 1 minute 52 to go in the game. The Buccaneers only had a 5% chance of winning the game when they turned the ball over in downs with 1:52 in the clock, trailing 13-9. Brady then completes 5 or 6 for 54 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah,
what was the game-running drive? It makes me angry that they essentially flipped, the win probability so much, but it kind of pisses me off more. Not the defense, but they've been on the field that much. Like you said, they're tired. They need a rest, and they're forced into a position with Brady getting decent starting, position on the field for them to have to basically be on their game against Tom Brady when they've pretty much played the whole game on themselves. A lot of people came at this game saying sack Morris, this defense needs to be decimated and rebuilt, and it's what game are people watching here? Our defense it's not the issue. Well, I said we've talked about this constantly, but get off their backs for Christ's sake, because I don't blame them for losing this game. I don't blame them for that last drive. Yeah, the coverage is an issue, but we've asked so much of them for 58 minutes when they've been on the field that it's going to happen. This is what happens in football. It's just, let's say that it's frustrating to lose the game. It's frustrating to see a stat like that, a 5% chance of winning and they still win the game. And it, like I said, it makes me angry though that people take stuff like that or take losing the games in that last drive and blaming people who don't deserve the blame. And I include Raheem Morris in that. What do you think about Raheem Morris as our defensive coordinator? Do you think? I remember last year, I've just flipped back to last year, that I was quite critical of him And, as the season got on, he made adjustments and he started to show, look, this is what I can do. Do you think it's, excuse me, it's much of the same as last year that he makes adjustments, or is it a case of, well, the guy's sending his players out there to do everything they can? What more do you want from him as a coordinator?
I'm on a mixed bag with him because I would like to see us play a bit more man coverage. The couple of times we mixed it up in this game and we did go to a more man coverage sort of style, we basically shut them down. That they didn't get anything going, they just went 3 and out. But then we went back to what we play, and then Brady just picked us apart. I mean, I've just looked at his stat line: 36 completions for 58 attempts. He had more completions than Stafford tried attempts all game. And you sort of you can clearly see it was all dink and dunk, averaged 4.8 yards a throw. So he was just picking apart that soft coverage, and he was just okay. Well, you know what? You're going to give me 5-10 yards at a time. I'm just going to keep dinking and dinking.
He'll take them, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to players like that are going to take them, and also it's not allowing your pass rush to get home because basically the pass rush hasn't got time because the quarterback knows he can just bang bang. It's gone out of his hands. They can't do anything then. They're like, well, yeah, he's already got rid of it. I can't do nothing. This is where I do feel. I think the only time we got a sack was we went into man coverage and basically press manned them, which gave Donald the time to get to Brady because he's like, oh, hang on, I can't throw it to anyone. And there's Donald, he's on top of him. The rest of the game. So, I can see where people are criticising because of this soft shell coverage he likes to play. It's not working because teams know now they can just dink and dunk, and they're getting up the field. It might be taking them 10, 15 drives, to get up the field, but they're doing it eventually. And then we get to, oh, right, they're in the red zone now. Now we'll sort of lock down. But against a decent quarterback, they're still going to pick you apart like they've done. We need to, I think, play a lot more from the start, is mix it up a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's something he's done it. He did it once or twice in a whole game, I think it was, and that was it. And then on both, like I say, on both times he did it, they just went 3 and out because Brady was just like, "Oh, this wasn't in a script. What's going on?" But then it seemed to be it was working, and then it was like, "Yeah, we'll go back to the soft zone now and just let them dink and dunk us again." And that's what caused, I think that the final drive. But like you said, though, the defense at that point, they're hanging out the backsides because they've had to spend so long. If they'd have been able to sit down for 5-10 minutes and sort of get a bit of rest and get fluids, as you said, and, then maybe it wouldn't have been a problem. But because they basically we're out there, we've stopped them. And then it's like, yep, dink, dunk, dunk. A minute later, yeah, you're back out again. Off you go. They're not getting that time. And
they're not getting the time for the coaches to actually coach them on the sidelines.
Yeah. They're not getting any chance to sort of reorganize themselves and get themselves going. And it's also got to be demoralizing for the defense. If we keep doing our job, we're holding these teams to, to winnable scores. And, a lot of the time, and then you still aren't getting your job done. It has to demoralize. If I was on the defense and that, and I'm doing my job over and over again, and yet we're still losing, you're kind of like, what's the, what is the point now? Because no matter what we do, you're just going to throw it away for us anyway. So there's, so I think a lot of it is that. And to be honest, personally, if the criticism has got to go anywhere this week, it's got to be on McVay. If you ask me, it has to be on McVay.
Well, there was quite a few people saying before the press conference and post-game they were hoping that McVay was going to come out and take ownership of it because, at the end of the day, he's the head coach and also he's the one, calling the plays in the offense in particular. One thing I did ahead of this week's episode of podcast, I've stuck a few polls on Twitter just to kind of check the pulse, so to speak, as to what people think, because just like I was saying about like people criticising the defence, I've seen that what feels like a lot online on Twitter in particular. So I thought I'll put some polls out and we'll see what people actually think. So first one I put up on was people going on. So people have been going on like, "Oh, get rid of Raheem Morris." So I put up the question: if you had to get rid of one tomorrow, who should go? Cohen or Morris? What do you think, Andy?
I'm probably
Who
going
do
to
you
say
think?
more. I'd say
Sorry?
Cohen. I'd say Cohen's got to go first.
Well,
I don't think more.
75% of people who responded agree with you.
Yeah.
So all these posts and that, what are going on, get rid of Morris, get rid of Morris. So that was a snap poll. Snapshot is Cohen. We got there. From there, going on about our kind of soft coverage, asked, does the defense need to change its systems? So there was 3 options. Yes, ditch soft zone. No, it's not their fault. And the third one said keep it, but not for Jalen. And the reason I put that option there was to essentially put a hybrid. Put Jalen man to man. Put Ramsey man to man with who their best receiver is. Because you take their best target out there, then yeah, there might still be that chance to make a 4 or 5 yard gain, but it's not going to be to the man who could maybe potentially take that 4 or 5 yards and turn it into a first down. So that's why I put the option up there. So what do you think, Andy? Did you think ditch altogether, no, keep it, or adjust it?
Oh, I'm going to say probably just it was the top one.
It wasn't actually.
No?
Ditch it altogether. 45%
Okay.
ditch it. 41% says nope, leave it, and the rest said keep it / hybrid.
No.
Next one.
That's interesting.
So the next one I put up was what's the problem with the offense? Is it play calling? Is it personnel? Or is it something else? And when I said something else, I asked people to comment just to see what their kind of thoughts are. So what do you think the issue is? Do you think it's play calling, personnel, or something else?
It's got to be personnel, surely, more than anything.
63% said personnel.
Yeah.
26 said play calling, and 11 said something else. And the something else, the common response was basically both play calling and personnel.
Mm-hmm.
And then off the back of that, the last one, gut feeling time. Can this team make the playoffs?
I'm going to say yes at the moment. I think there's still enough of the season left. But I think it'd be a little bit closer than maybe it would have been even last week if we'd have asked that question last week.
So looking at the results, you would be in the minority. 85% of those polled said they don't think we'll make it. But a couple of the comments there underneath of it, like saying, from Dan Flint, there's still a chance, a tiny one, but the chance is still there. A lot of things have to go our way, and opponents still need to stink the place up, but who knows? And Jazz Raj Paul says, we can make it with copious amounts of whiskey. But a couple of other comments, a few guys saying we'll be surprised if we make 9 wins. We'll look at our win records. But like you said, Andy, it's the midpoint of the season. There's still a lot of football to be played here, and who knows what could happen. The NFC's not looking weak. Currently one of the division leaders who just beat us have a losing record. So who knows what could happen between now and then.
So I said, potentially, being an 8 and 9, you could still potentially scrape into the playoffs. You could still make it as like the number 7 and seed as the wild card, and then, But I think the more I can understand where people are, the more this is going on, the more people are like, we're not going to get anywhere or do anything. I can understand why people are feeling that way, but at the moment it ain't over. If we're in this position again, in a couple of weeks' time, maybe 3 weeks' time, and we're still not winning, then I'd probably say, our season's over and done with.
Yeah.
But there is still enough. We've still got 3 divisional games to go for a start. Those 3 alone can swing things. And we do have a couple of easy games coming up. Well, we hope it's easy games, but with this team, you just never know anymore.
No, you never know with us. Just when you're on the topic of the division, elsewhere in the division, the Seahawks obviously beat the Cardinals 21-21 this week to move to 6-3, still top of the division. And the 49ers were on their bye week, so they're still sitting 4-4. We're 3-5, and the Cardinals are 3-6. But like you said, we've got 3 divisional games still to go. We've still got the Seahawks to play twice, which maybe isn't looking to be as good as we hoped at the start of the season.
No, that's actually the one team. I did see a few people commenting, "Oh, well, at least we've got 2 wins against the Seahawks." I'm not being funny. The way the Seahawks are playing, they're going to wipe the floor with us.
That's
I would genuinely not be surprised if Geno Smith either wins comeback player of the year, or at the moment, the way he's playing, he's probably in for a shot of MVP, if I'm being honest.
He is surprising a lot of people with the way he's playing. Especially everyone thought with Russell Wilson leaving there that the Seahawks, that's them. They're done. And Geno Smith has just proved every single person wrong, I guess. So
if it was any other team, I would be fully supporting the guy. But obviously, because he's playing for the Seahawks, I cannot support the guy.
And I think one of the problems we've got here is like what I was saying about the division games. One of the games against the Seahawks is the last game of the season, so it's just like last year. If we need to go into that last game of the season needing something, it's having to go to Seattle as well.
Yeah,
it's not a good position we're going to put ourselves in. So it's hopefully over the coming weeks, we can turn it around.
It's going to Seattle, especially that time of year with the weather as well, where we don't tend to play very well in bad weather.
We do not. No. But before we move on to the Cardinals game, I believe you done some analysis on our not necessarily I guess the current roster, but past rosters as well, in terms of where we've came from since the move to early, in terms of how we built a team for success and what's kind of been left. I guess the scraps that have been left from that. So
I've seen a few people over the past week or so, kind of getting a bit critical with how we've been drafting, and especially I think more so we're seeing it this year in our eyes with what we have out there on the offensive line, and apart from Ramsey in the secondary and what have you, there's been a lot of questions about do the Drams actually draft as well as we think they do. So I was sort of just like put a little thing here, bug in my brain. I was like, I'm going to have a little look and just see, who we have been drafting. So basically, I'm going to go from sort of the last time we had a first round pick, which was obviously Jared Goff. So I'm going to go from 2017 onwards and just quickly run through some of the players. So, second round, Gerald Everett, obviously isn't with the team anymore. Third round will be Cooper Kupp. Obviously, we all know Kupp's fantastic. Third round again would be John Johnson. We let him walk stupidly. Then we had like Josh Reynolds, Samson Ebukam in the fourth round, Tenzel Smart in the sixth, Sam Rogers in the sixth as well, and then Ewan Price in the seventh. None of them have stuck around on the squad at all. The year after 2018, we had Joe Noteboom, Brian Allen. Obviously, they're in the team, but they ain't doing much. They're not particularly up there with some of the best players we've got. The one I never understood was we took in the fourth round John Franklin Myers, and then we cut him and let him walk. What a mistake that was, looking how well he plays for the Jets these days. Then we've had Micah Kaiser, didn't manage to last out even his rookie contract. Obo Oronquo, we've let go. He left. John Kelly, we caught. Jamel Dimby, we caught. Sebastian Joseph Day, we let walk. Trevon Young, we let go. Trayvon Howard is still around, but can't get games because he's unfit. And Justin Lawler, who was the only one I couldn't tell. I don't think he's on the squad. He might be on the practice squad, though. But again, hasn't done anything. Then 2019, we drafted Rapp in the second round. Mixed bag on him. Henderson in the third round, along with David Long. They're sticking around, but they've not looked. David Long hasn't developed as we want. Henderson, I don't think, has just been given a chance. Also in the third round was Bobby Evans. He was drafted as a tackle. Well, we all know how that guy's gone at the moment. Then we've got Greg Gaines, decent for us. David Edwards has been decent when he plays. Nick Scott, and then obviously Dakota Allen was our final pick in the seventh round. He didn't even make the squad. 2020, Cam Akers. Well, we all know how that one's going at the moment. And Van Jefferson as well. Just, he's around, but he hasn't done as much as I think, again, we hope. You've got Terrell Lewis, not done what we expect him to do in the third round. Terrell Burgess, who's just been cut this evening. Bryson Hopkins, Jordan Fuller, that they're on the squad, but then we've got Clay Johnson, Sam Sloman, never even, Clay Johnson didn't even get last out of, didn't even make it to the beginning of the season. And then we've got Tremaine Antrim, who I think is still on the practice squad. And obviously, 2021, we drafted Tutu Atwell, Ernest Jones. Tutu's not getting games, so it seems like a waste of a draft pick at the moment. Ernest Jones has been playing well for us. Bobby Brown can't get on the field, plus he's been suspended. Robert Rochelle can get on the field, but hasn't, has shown flashes, but hasn't done that much. Jacob Harris, practice squad. Ernest Brown, practice squad. Jake Funk cut. Ben Skowronek, obviously, and Chris Garrett was also cut. And then obviously from this year, we've got Logan Bruss injured, so we don't know what he's going to be capable of yet. Jacoby Durant, he seemed to he started off well, and then it just seems to like they don't want to play him anymore. Obviously, Kyron Williams is injured. Quentin Lake, I think, is on the practice squad at the moment. Derion Kendrick, again, has shown flashes, but has not been. It's hard for rookie corners to make it in the league. Daniel Hardy injured. Russ Yeast, not seen him. I think the last one is AJ Akuri, who's a tackle who we've not seen as well. So if you go down, the list of those players, there's a lot of players there who have either been cut or just aren't making an impact for the team, as we would expect draft picks to do. So I can understand why fans are questioning how we're drafting, because a lot of those players, they're not, apart from sort of obviously Cooper Kupp, there aren't many others in there who are actually week in, week out being productive players for us.
No, there is no. I'm actually kind of like sitting listening to the names, some of the names, particularly more so the guys that we drafted around about kind of 2017, 2018 that you listed there, like John Johnson and whatnot, Sebastian Joseph there, Aronco. These were guys who were, they were good, solid players on our roster. And I remember when John Johnson left, I was unhappy at him being allowed to leave. Like, I always thought we should have kept him on as well. But it's just I can, when you're saying people saying about about drafting poorly, like I only think about the last couple of years. It's not necessarily I think an issue of drafting poorly. It's actually an issue of also keeping good talent. And it's not like there's quite a few of the guys on that list that, like you said, we've allowed them to walk rather than
because we can't afford them.
Yeah,
we can't afford to play them. That's why.
And I think this maybe goes back to what we were discussing last week, when we were talking about the bye week and the lack of trades and whatever. That and McVay's comments about when this Cole leaves, Cole's going, I'm gone. That we are going to have to. We're drifting towards the point where we have to make the decision to send one of those guys away to another team, to trade them off, to allow us cap space and space to try and bring guys in or try and draft better,
Yeah.
But with that, after you're reading through the names, it puts less confidence in me and our ability to utilise picks.
Yeah. And what worries me, as I say, the likes of John Frank and Myers, we've had him in the building. And we just went, you're not good enough. See ya, ta-ra. It wasn't as if he'd come to the end of his contract. It was a case of, you're cut. See ya, we don't need you.
He went to the Jets. We drafted him as well.
Yeah, he went to the Jets, and then look what he's done for the Jets. We could have done with somebody like that in our team now.
Yep.
He would have been perfect for us now to basically be up the opposite side, to basically take over, to help out on the pass rush, because he'd have been. So, you look at that and go, well, whose decision was that? Was that McVay's decision? Was that, the defensive coordinators at the time's position to cut him? Who was it that, because that talent was walked out the building, and it's kind of like, but, there's lots of others, obviously we've just spoke about Bobby Evans, hasn't done a thing so far. Yep. He's a liability.
These are guys that you're keeping in the roster and you're going to keep putting out there week in, week out.
Yeah.
And they're going to keep repeating the same mistakes.
Terrell Burgess, 3rd round pick, cut today. He's just got rid of him. Like I say, we let our but that was more due to, we couldn't keep him on his, we can't afford to pay them. But like you say, David Long was supposed to be this great corner. He's shown flashes, but he's never really got to where we want him to be.
Nope.
And that's like, well, is this, we're not very good at drafting these players. Is it maybe our scouting team needs to be having a look at that now and saying, well,
we need a new scouting team. That's what we need.
You've brought, we have this long list of players. You're right, they're not 1st round talents, but quite a lot of them are still, 2nd round talent, early 3rd round talents. For a lot of teams, they're still players that you do expect to hit. Maybe not day one, but by the time of their 2nd season, they should be okay. Right, they're up to speed, they're ready to go, and a lot of them, they haven't. And then, like I say, you've got the Tutu Atwell pick, who just that is just at the moment. When you look, as I said the other week, you look at the players who are still available, the likes of Creed Humphrey. That was just a wasted pick. Whose pick was that? Was that McVeigh? Oh, look, he can run this fast. I'll take him, and then we'll see what we can do with him. Or was it somebody behind in the scouting going, we really want to sign this guy. He's absolutely fantastic.
We'll be able to throw like 50, 60-yard passes this guy, and he'll be there to catch them. They're that fast. It'll give the fans something exciting to watch. They'll want to watch a wide receiver making a big play than watching essentially a beast of a man at centre who will make sure that your quarterback will never hit the dirt again.
Yeah, and then basically would have allowed us to not have to pay Brian Allen, which would then freed up money to maybe keep somebody in the door, because we could have given his money and gone, all right, you know what? Well, that X amount, we'll keep somebody behind because that we let go because we need them.
Just as we said last week, like the decision making to pay some of these guys is also affecting the team, because it's having to pick pay guys that maybe necessarily don't deserve the amounts they get put on is preventing us from then, like you said, like giving Brian Allen the money, but if we had something like Creed Humphrey, and it was still in his rookie contract, for another couple of years.
Yeah, he's costing us buttons, and then we can go and then, put a bit of cash in and maybe get a little bit more creative in free agency rather than, signing one player and that's your lot, off we go, and we just have to make do. We could have looked at maybe the offensive line and gone, you know what, we can bring somebody in to maybe, take over Whitworth's position, get that bit of experience that was out there. The likes of Teron Armstead, we could have given him a decent Armstead. You'll come here, there's a chance for you to win a Super Bowl. Yeah, all right, I'll take that option. There's those options available rather than, I wouldn't say I was against Brian Allen, but my attitude was, right, you know what, he spent a lot of time injured. It should have been a 1-year prove-it deal for him. It should have been a case of, right, okay, you're going to be. And same with Noteboom, to be honest. It should have been, you've not actually had many games as a starter. You've shown flashes, but you're not there yet. So we'll offer you a 1-year deal. You can come in, prove to us. If you can prove it, next year, we'll pay you. If you don't like it, well, there's the door. We'll go and replace you easily. We'll go out and sign somebody. Well, we can use that money then to go and sign somebody else. You're not, it's not as if you're, world-class talent that we can't lose.
Yeah.
It's been proven they're not up there with what we expect. They're not at the standard that they should be at this stage of their careers. And, these guys have sat for 4 years learning. And Noteboom has sat behind Andrew Whitworth, probably one of the best guys as a left tackle to sit behind, to learn everything off the guy. And we haven't done anything. He hasn't, he showed flashes, don't get me wrong. That's why I was kind of optimistic coming into the season that he would be able to take over that position. He may not be a Whitworth standard, but he would be good enough for us that we wouldn't have to worry about it. And again, we've actually looked better since he's left the squad than he has when he was in there.
Yep. Just thinking about it there, just on the topic of kind of like picks and whatnot, I think one of the kind of frustrating things here is that the Lions are going to get what could be a decent first round pick out of us this year. They're going to be potentially top 5 with their own pick, and then possibly top 10, maybe.
Yeah.
As long as we don't continue in the trend that we're on with our pick. And it's actually, I was thinking this the other night. I don't know if it's because I keep a couple of weeks ago, I kept getting TikToks on my feed from the movie Draft Day, the Kevin Costner one where he's the GM of the Browns, and basically what he does, he trades a pick away and then does all this wheeling dealing to get that pick back,
Yeah.
and keep the office happy. And it made me sit and think, like, what would we have to do to get our first round pick back off the Lions this year? Because I kind of feel like we're going to need it. Like, I feel like we're getting to the point where we're going to need first round picks because we need to be able to draft talent in the first round that we can have on rookie contracts for a good, like, say, 4 years or whatever, and they'll be able to perform from hopefully day one, if not day one, within that first season. That's what I'm kind of leaning towards now.
At this point, if I was the Detroit GM, I'd be like, yeah, you can have it back. We want your first round picks for the next 2 years, though.
That's it. That's what
because it's so valuable at this point. It's not as if you're picking 32nd, because you've just won the Super Bowl, and it's like it's basically a glorified second rounder. All right, give us a second and a third, you can have it back. As you say, this is potentially going to be top 15 of the draft at the moment, potentially even even maybe getting higher. I don't think the Lions would want to give it up. Certainly not, or it would be a case of, we'll take that, but we want Cooper Kupp with it or something, that they'd give us something daft that we just couldn't refuse, and basically we couldn't say yes to because the outroar would be absolutely ridiculous to it.
Yeah.
We give up more than we think, it's just a case of, I think, like I put in the thing the other day, the only positive I can think of is, next year we've got a first rounder again. It'll actually make the first day of the draft actually worth staying up for.
Yeah.
It's about the only positivity I've got at the moment with how the team is.
Yep. I'm bringing forward, we'll only had one question come in this week, and it's topical to what we're talking about now. And it came from Paul Milligan on Facebook. And he was saying that over the past few years, the Rams have been lauded for their win now, F them pick style of team building. Does the level of performance, regardless of injuries, prove that this way they run the franchise isn't working? I think we've touched upon it, but my general gist is we're at the point of the bubble busting, so it's not working anymore. It worked up to last year, but we're over the hill with what we were trying to achieve, and I don't think it's going to work anymore. Let's see you, Andy.
Yeah, I think we are heading to that point now where the bubble is starting to burst. Maybe we could have this year maybe made another push. I think we all expected the team. We could see the deficiencies in the team, but we thought there'd be enough of the core squad still there that we could get the job done. But clearly, that it isn't there anymore. Or the thing is, if the offense was going, I think we wouldn't be having these conversations.
No, we'd be just like, things could be better, but winning for winning, that's what matters.
Yeah, it's the fact of just how poorly the offense is playing that these questions are coming up. I know. I think even last year I said, we, at some point the bubble is going to burst, and we are going to have to go. Whether that would be, I was thinking maybe we could do what the Chiefs did. Mini rebuild, use all your draft picks, shore up the bits that you needed to do, and then move on, and sort of a 1 year sort of rebuild. Just get a few players, but there's more holes now, and they're being more exposed. At first it was the offensive line. Now we're looking at it's the offensive line, it's corner, it's edge players, it's interior defensive line. It's potentially another running back. That's a lot of draft picks that we're having to use. And then we've still got to try and replace players who are at the end of the contracts this year who potentially we can't afford to keep again. So what's as bad as this year's team looks, is what's next year's team going to look at the year, until we start getting. So I think at the moment I'm still hopeful that it'll be a quick mini rebuild. Maybe a couple of players on the offensive line, maybe another corner, maybe get one in and free agency if we can, and maybe another draft and edge rusher. I think this year's draft class is fairly strong for edge rushers. So you might still be able to pick up a gem in the second round, even potentially down, developmental player into the third round. But
Kidding me? We'll pick a running back or a wide receiver in the second round, even the third round. That's what we'll do.
Yeah, that's what worries me, is that we're going to do something stupid like that. McVay will be just like, well, I want that, Oh, look, there's a guy here who can run 4.32 speed in the second round. I'll take him, and because that'll make my offense look, and it'll be like, we didn't need that guy. This is almost like a polar opposite to Green Bay. Green Bay don't want to draft wide receivers, as we're clearly seeing. We don't want to draft offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Or it's like, we'll throw a 4th round and a 5th round on that guy, and let's see if he sticks. We'll manage somehow or another. It is now being proven that function, and I suppose it's the catch-22. We got the Super Bowl, brilliant, and everything else, but it's like, how long are we going to be put on for what we got for that Super Bowl? How long potentially are we going to put ourselves back into mediocrity again? And maybe hindsight, we've maybe a bit more balanced. Yeah, been a little bit aggressive with the draft picks and maybe getting talent in, but at the same time, looking at, still sustaining ourselves for a longer period to give us that larger window. And it's not only that as well, it's throwing, as much as we all loved Von Miller coming in, a second and third round for a guy who we had for 4 months.
Yep.
It wasn't worth it. In the terms of the long-term picture, it was great for winning the Super Bowl, but in terms of the long-term picture, that was 2 potential draft picks that we could have had that we
perhaps though
a rent.
Perhaps though they felt confident at the time that they'd be able to get him to re-sign, and that's why they maybe took the risk. So whilst it's not great to lose a second and a third from at the time, it seemed worth the picks, but we didn't know what was going to happen. What happened was going to happen. Sorry, we didn't know he was going to be dictated by money, and we spoke about it, previously at the beginning of the season, that he's full of that money doesn't talk for him, but clearly it does.
Oh,
so that's the kind of guy that he is, and he's trying to push OBJ in the same route, come to the Bills, you got money here, you get paid here, and all that, so he's not the guy that he's kind of been made out to be, which is disappointing. But it could be one of those ones that McVay Sneeds felt that, well, we'll re-sign him, because they weren't. Well, maybe they should have been more aggressive. Is maybe the answer is. Maybe the blame does lie with them, that they weren't aggressive enough to get the deal done with him and make sure they paid him, to get him to sign the deal, rather than just thinking, we'll sign. We're the Rams. We've just won the Super Bowl. Why would he want to go elsewhere?
Yeah, but my thing on that one, it should have been, personally myself, it should have been day one. He walked in the door. We'll take you and we'll give you a year extension straight off.
Yep.
So at least that would have solved this issue straight away. And then it wouldn't have, if we'd have had him for, and then again this year, we'd have been like, all right, second and third round pick for a year and a bit rental, player.
It's a bit more acceptable then, isn't it?
But like I say, the hindsight of looking back at it now and going, that was quite a lot of draft capital that we really needed, that we just really shouldn't have maybe chucked away. But like I say, it's always that double-edged sword, isn't it? Yeah, we've won the Super Bowl and it's fantastic at the time, but this is the period now where, unfortunately, we may just have to suck it up for a few years until we can maybe get the talent in and replace. Because it's like I said, it's not just we need to get talent in play. We're going to have to at some point replace the likes of Ramsey, Donald, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford. These players are going to retire at some point, or they're going to get to the point, especially people like Ramsey. We all saw how he managed to get his way out of Jacksonville. What worries me at the moment is he's going to go, you know what? Because he's starting to mouth off now about the team.
Yeah.
Patterns fallen for how he was at Jacksonville. He could then, is he's going to come round at the end of the season and go, I don't want to be here anymore. Trade me.
Yep. Well, that's that. And that's something that can happen. Like that.
Yeah.
You said he could just come in day one after the season finishes and go, I want out.
Yeah.
I'm not playing. I'm not coming back. So you get rid of me.
Yeah.
Get me out. And that's the risk you're going to take. And when Donald could be the same, he could go, do you know what? No, like, I've done everything I can do here at the Rams. I want to go trade me to Pittsburgh. I want to finish in my own town. Something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that was something that does worry me.
And you've got Stafford too, with his age. He could decide, you know what? I'm on. I want to retire. And then we've got to find a bloody quarterback for somewhere.
I'm not being funny. The way he's playing at the moment, mate, I don't think he's particularly. I wouldn't be worried if he did. The way he's playing currently.
I think it's more of then having to go out and find a quarterback because they're not going to draft one. So the pattern of what we've done the last few years is potentially then going to repeat itself. So we get our first pick backs. Oh, we've traded free off. We're going to go for Joe Burrow. We'll bring him in. That was just the first name it popped in my head. By the way, that wasn't just let's say like who I would want or whatnot. Just first time like that's what I think. With Joe Burrow's more experience. And last year, I joked and said this. It was Trevor Lawrence would be the guy. Would do. He gets a few years. He's been battered about in Jacksonville, but he's ready to step up and show what he can do. Like that's my worry is that like that's what will happen with Stafford. We'll just fall into a trap of trade picks, bring a quarterback who's ready to go day one because we're not bringing a guy. We're not. Doesn't matter. Even if we were high in the first round of that draft, they're not going to draft a quarterback from there because as good as Goff was at times, Carson Wentz was the same. Looked like he was going to be a good prospect, and he's just the same. This is the risk you've got with quarterbacks, I guess, when you're drafting them.
You have, but you do look at it and you go, you know what, that's where you need your scouts in, so you can look at these quarterbacks. And to be honest, I will say over the last few years, a lot of quarterbacks who are coming out of college now, that they top first rounders are basically college ready. Last year Trevor Lawrence didn't look good because he was underneath. Urban Meyer, was a complete waste of time, But you look at the ones who, even the likes of Justin Fields now are starting to get it together with, even how bad the Bears have been. But Burrow was looking good up until his injury in his rookie year. These quarterbacks are coming in day one ready, and it's just a case of if you can get a good draft class of college quarterbacks, if you can. I think when we drafted Goff, it was a case of it was Goff, Wentz, and that was it. And they were, they weren't from the typical powerhouse schools, North Dakota State and, for Goff. They're not the big powerhouse schools for quarterbacks. So it was a case of, well, we need one or the other. Which one, it's just chuck of the dice, wasn't it, with them? Whereas if you're lucky and you've got, Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, teams like that pumping out the quarterbacks, you start looking and going, those guys are normally NFL ready day one pretty much to go. And that's where we would have to sort of look at the bigger picture. But at the moment it is looking like unfortunately we could be heading in for a rough potential few years unless we get these things, because like you say, players are going to go, well, stuff it, I'll retire. McVay will go, well, stuff it, I'll go in the booth now, I'm happy. Job's done. I've done what I needed to do. I'm getting out now because I don't want to do that rebuild. It could be that the rebuild is going to be coming a lot sooner than we think at this rate.
I would say fingers crossed that it doesn't, but there's one of those ones where on one side of the fence maybe it's not a bad thing. On the other side, you're like no, because whilst you've got the rebuild, you've then got the transition from that rebuild to your team being where you're trying to build it to be. So like I said, I would want to say fingers crossed, not but
I suppose the other question as well is obviously, we're in LA. For the fan base, we have to sort of do something because they won't accept mediocrity and they'll basically walk away. As much as I hate to say it, the Chargers are at a point, they've got a young, exciting quarterback, decent team at the moment. They could soon start overtaking us as the interest team in LA. And all of a sudden we go from we're all laughing at the Chargers because they can't get a home attendance at all, to basically will be them, and it'll be them that'll have the fans because they're starting to get successful and they're doing the right things.
I don't think Kroenke is going to allow that to happen, because for him, it'll be like, well, I've spent billions to bring the Rams back to LA. I've spent billions in my stadium. I've pumped billions into the team to then be overtaken by my tenants. So from his perspective, I don't know how he does it, right? But he's not going to want that to happen. So whilst any other team, like you're saying about rebuilds, they'll go into rebuild mode, like the Panthers are doing. They're trying to amass draft picks to rebuild.
Yeah.
We will have to do that because of the market we're in. We potentially won't, because we've been in the win now kind of mindset, whereas it's now a case of we have to maintain the win. To maintain the win, you need to draft well. You need to make the right moves. You can't just throw picks away to bring guys in thinking win championships. To be successful in LA, you need to be in the mix, in the hunt all the time. I'm not expecting to win Super Bowls every single year, but the last 5-6 years we've been making the playoffs.
Consistently.
We've had winning records. So we are competing. It's maintaining that level, and like you said, it's the way things are this season. It breeds the worry that it could then get the guys like Ramsey starting to think, well, I've done everything I can here. Nah, I'm not going in and busting my ass every week when half of the team can't, go out and do their basic job. I'm out. I'll go somewhere else and get paid more. So we're definitely heading towards some kind of crossroads here in the off season. When it comes, it's good next at the end of the season. It'll certainly be a crossroads, because it'll tell us where the back office, see us in terms of where we are and where we're going to go, and also in terms of their intelligence to be able to get us there. Because let's say my worry is they're going to just mortgage everything to try and get quickly back up to the top table, rather than doing it the way anyone else would and build your way to there.
Like I said to you, it needs to be a balanced approach. Yeah, you can make those occasional splashy, right, well, we're going to bring somebody in with our first round pick, because, it's proven talent and we don't want to, we can't wait. I can understand that side of it. But then you expect, for your second, third, fourth rounders, you have to hit on them. You have to be successful. And we started off being successful, and then we seem to drop off the last few years. The last few drafts, we've not drafted well. We've not drafted good players. And here's one for you, because I did actually see this somebody on Twitter banging on. Do you still think Les Snead is the right man as a GM?
The start of the season, I'd say yeah. And it doesn't even stop with Snead now. Actually, for the first time after this week, I've started to question about, is McVay the right man as well? And I think it's been his comments that he's only here as long as we're winning. It's pretty much like, saying when the core go, I'm going. But that's you basically saying, McVay, when we're not winning, I'm off. I think no, because I think their style of, win it now, and what they've done, and they've done it well to get us to the point of building strong and winning a Super Bowl. And be forever grateful to everyone back office and on the field who did it, for us and worked to get us that second ring. But I think, like I said, we're over the hill now. We're past that, and it's all about, it's not the short term now. It's about the medium term. We're kind of moving in, not necessarily long term, because I don't think you can do long term planning in football, because anything can change, I guess, at drop of a hat. But medium term, I don't think the franchise is currently in the mindset for the right guys to be currently in place. And that's how I'm saying we're heading towards a crossroads. And that will really tell me how Snead's thinking we're going to rebuild, how we're going to get to be successful again, and how we're going to hopefully go after ring number 3.
Yeah, I say no. I'm only asking because that was one of the things for somebody was saying he has not drafted well. He needs to go. I was thinking, I just thought, I wonder how other people feel about Snead. Should he stay or should he go at the end of the season because of obviously flaws? Ultimately he controls the scouting team.
Yeah, I
Is
guess
the flaw.
we'll see how the record ends up at the end of the season. But
Yeah.
The only other thing we've really got to talk about, I guess, is another game. So a Week 10 matchup is a home matchup for the division against the Cardinals, who are sitting 3-6. And I put this quote on the screen because I've seen someone describe it as the battle to determine who isn't going to the postseason. And I guess because there is obviously still a chance we'll do that, but beat the Cardinals on Sunday, they'll go 3-7. A good chance they're out of it. But is this even? You said last week's game was one of those games that's going to dictate the rest of the season. This for me is more. It was going to dictate the rest of the season because if we don't win on Sunday, just call the season.
Yeah, I think we are getting to that point now. Yeah, we are. This is potentially it now. I think we do have to now look at this and say, what last week for me was just because of how bad, the Bucs had been playing themselves. I thought, this is a game we have to come out, look strong, and maybe show that, the San Francisco game was a blip. It was the Niners. It was what it was. We never do well against them, but the fact that we came out just as bad. So yeah, we are getting to that point now where these games are, this is make or break potentially for the season.
Yep, and it's one of those ones in terms of kind of preview, like it's abnormal. I sort of how you feel going into this game and all that, and I think it's one of the ones I'm kind of reluctant to it because I think it's a case of, well, we're waiting for the offensive line to collapse. We're waiting for Bo Williams to become a turnstile. We're waiting for Stafford to not be able to get anyone else but Cup open. We're waiting for the running game to not get established. We're waiting for the defense to be absolutely gassed to the point they make a mistake that could cost us the game, which isn't their fault because they're absolutely knackered. And we're waiting for a poor performance. That's just how I feel going into Sunday. I want to win so badly because I really want to come on here and to talk about something good for once,
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of them games now. I don't know about you, you just don't know how to feel with the team anymore. Because you don't know what is going to show up. Is it just going to be same old, same old? Defense does its job, but the offense can't get firing at all? Or is it a case of, we've already beaten this team once this year, maybe that will be the confidence booster. Maybe, things will change behind the scenes this week and, things will get going.
Yeah.
But you don't know.
I did see a stat that apparently, Kyler Murray is 0 for 2 since the new Call of Duties came out. So at least we've got something going in our favours here, that he's distracted. He's not watching the tapes, obviously.
Yeah, he's clearly played his video games on Twitch or whatever he does.
It's just one of those ones, like, you never know going into these games. It's at home, it's the Cardinals. We did pretty decent against them the last time. But you don't know what kind of Rams team you're going to get going out there on Sunday. And it's not a case of where we had games last season where I think what we're saying is you don't know what Matt Stafford you're going to get. You're going to get Detroit Matt Stafford, or you're going to get Hollywood Matt Stafford, who's just absolutely annihilating and destroying defenses. It's not even a question of that. It's not a question of how bad is the offense going to play.
Yeah, it's also now a case of looking at, right, what's the injury report this week?
Aye, yeah. I think everyone's got their eyes more on the injury report, and who's going to be out than people have got reading game previews about these are the 5 key points to beating the Cardinals. This is where the Rams have the edge. Here's all the stats, and everyone's just I just want to see the injury report just so I can know how bad this is going to be.
Yeah, who've maybe not got fit that we can maybe pick on and maybe get things going against them. But
Look, well, it's the thing is though with the injury point. I mean, look at the 49ers game. They had a pretty lengthy injury report through the whole week, and still beat us.
Yeah,
So,
you're just sort of looking at the matchups and thinking, right, okay, where can we maybe get some matchups, going? Because I think as we saw in the first game, we pretty much nullified their, capability to pass rush against us, and that's just what we've got to do. Yeah, they did have a couple of players injured and coming back off injury, but if we can nullify, maybe allow Stafford to stay upright on his feet, we can win games. But if Stafford's on his backside every 30 seconds because, they're just walking through the offensive line, it's going to be a long night. And obviously, Hopkins wasn't in the first game. He's back now, and he's playing okay for them. So, it's that matchup again of, Ramsey, is it just going to have to be Ramsey shadows Hopkins and then that allows other players, or how are we going to play this game? So honestly, at the moment, it's just like get to the injury report Friday, look at it, see who's going to potentially play, who's not, and then move on and let's see, pray that this team maybe can get the job done, and maybe the defense calling the offense out this week, might be that kick up the backside for the offense for them to go, actually, you know what? You're right. We need to step up our game. Let's get this done. And maybe getting a win against the Cardinals will give us that bit of confidence because, we've got a few decent, hard games coming up. We've got the Saints who, even now could give us still a difficult game. And then we've got the Chiefs who, to be honest, at the moment,
they're going to run riot over us.
They're going to put a cricket score up against us if we're not careful. The way we're playing at the moment, and then obviously we've got the Seahawks as well after that. In the next 3 games after this game, so this game is potentially for nothing else, maybe get a bit of confidence in this team. To be able to see if we can win games, we can get their offense moving, and let's see if we can get something. But as you say, you don't know what teams. It's not, like I say, it's not the defense as much. It's we don't know what offense is going to pull out. Show up.
That's it, and I guess we'll just have to wait to see. Obviously, at the time of recording, we don't know if the game's in Sky Sports or not. I know that there's 3 late window games this week, so we've got 1 in 3 chance of being picked for the 3rd week running for Sky Sports. I'm hoping not, because I'm sick of us being on Sky Sports. I like being able to hide away on Game Pass and not having to listen to Neil Reynolds.
Yes, I mean, I don't want to listen to that. I'm lucky. When we're not on Sky, I do use another app for watching it, to be honest, because I just don't want to be around Neil Reynolds. But I'm normally like a minute behind everyone else, so everyone else is banging away on the Discord, and I'm just sort of like, shut up, I don't want to see it just yet. I'm like a minute behind you.
I suppose if we are on Sky Sports, there's a more likely chance we won't be the following week because the Saints game is in the early window, which is our first early window game. And I think it might actually only be the only early window I think we've got all season. I'm not sure on that. I was checking out interest the other day, and I remember seeing the Saints as the first one of the season where we're in the early window. So there's a good chance we won't be in Sky Sports next week because they'll have more games to pick from. But I'm hoping that over the last couple of weeks that they're like, Christ, let's not put the Rams on this week, eh?
Yeah, I'm just looking. The other game for our time is Dallas Green Bay. I can see that more likely being a Sky game myself, hopefully.
Yeah, it's more
I
likely.
think that'll be more the exciting game of the 2, to be honest. But, as you say, you just don't know at the moment. I'm just hoping not. Just keep us off Sky because, you know what? They're a curse in themselves. We don't seem to play well when we're on Sky anyway.
Sky. Yep, it's not the offense. It's Sky Sports' fault. You heard it here first, folks.
It's Neil Reynolds' fault. We'll blame Neil.
Yep, and with that, is there anything else you want to add, Andy, before we wrap up for this evening?
No, I don't think so, mate. I think it's just a case of, let's move on. Next game, let's just, maybe hope that we get going and that we can get things sorted. Otherwise, well, next week I may have a suggestion that maybe not everyone likes if we don't get the result we want.
Oh, well.
But I'll save that for next week.
Well, maybe not next week. Whatever it is, let's hope it's not next week.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm hoping I don't have to come up with the comments I'm going to make from next week if we don't. I'm hoping this week it's a nice win. We're all happy. We're all buzzing, and then we can
Well, to anyone listening, if you need a reason to listen to the next episode of the podcast, if we lose, then you've got even more reason because we need to find out what it is Andy's going to say, and we'll have to maybe give him the floor and let him rant. Judging by it. But yeah, so that does us for this evening, folks. Andy, always a pleasure, mate, to talk to you about the Rams, even when it's highly negative these days. It's still a pleasure.
Yep, same as well, John. And like I say, hopefully next week we can have a positive, happy podcast for a change.
It's deja vu over again. I feel like
at some point, we've got to get something right. I'm sure.
You would hope, but it's the Rams in 2022, so let's see. But thanks for joining me, Andy, and thanks to everyone as always for listening to us. We'll catch you next week when hopefully we haven't been red carded. Thanks for listening, folks, and take care.